If you're applying to law school, you need to hear this. The LSAT is not the same test it used to be. Admissions is tougher, LSAT medians are rising, and the strategies people used 5 years ago don't work anymore. The game has changed, and if you're still studying like it's 2020, or worse, 2015, you're setting yourself up for frustration, wasted time, and missed opportunities. But I'm going to help you cut through all the noise. Today, I'm breaking down 5 new LSAT rules that are reshaping law school admissions, and more importantly, how you can use them to crush the competition. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my score from a 152 to a 175. Over the years, I've helped thousands of students get into T14 law schools, land full-ride scholarships, and turn weaknesses like low GPAs into their biggest strengths. These aren't going to be fluffy tips you could Google. These are strategies that work in the real world. The first big rule you need to know is about LSAT score inflation. It is real. A decade ago, a 170 could get you into almost any T14 law school. Now, that same 170 is actually below the median at places like Columbia and Chicago. Schools that used to take students in the 150s are now filling their seats with scores in the 160s. Why? One major factor is the increasing number of test takers receiving accommodations like extra time. Of course, this could level the playing field for many, but it's also making the applicant pool way more competitive. What this means for you is that last year's medians aren't going to cut it. If you want to get into a top law school or get serious scholarship money, you've got to aim for 170 plus, period. So take a second. What's your target LSAT score right now? Write it down. Now ask yourself, is that score high enough to compete in this new reality? If it's not, don't worry. At LSAT Unplugged, my team and I specialize in helping students hit 170 plus, through our live online classes, on-demand video courses, and personalized one-on-one coaching. You could check out the link below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, the second big rule you've got to know is that logical reasoning is now 2/3 of the test, so you need to change your approach right now. After LSAC removed the logic game section, they replaced it with a second scored logical reasoning section. So the test is now 2 logical reasonings and 1 reading comp, which means your success hinges on your ability to crush logical reasoning. But the problem is, most students aren't devoting enough time to LR. They're stuck in outdated study routines, splitting their time equally across sections. But it's not 2015. If you're spending less than 70% of your study time on logical reasoning, you're probably falling behind. So here's what you've got to do. Break down complex arguments, learn to predict traps, and focus on repetition. The core of logical reasoning is complex arguments, and that involves going beyond just what's the evidence, what's the conclusion. You've got to recognize sub-conclusions and counter premises and separate them from all the filler. If you're spending less than 70% of your time on logical reasoning, you're probably falling behind. So here's what you've got to do instead. First, you've got to break down complex arguments. This is the core of logical reasoning, and you've got to go beyond what's the evidence, what's the conclusion, what's the gap. You've got to look for counter premises, sub-conclusions, and separate all of this from the filler that's designed to waste your time. You've also got to learn to predict traps because the wrong answers are designed to sound correct, and I'll show you how to spot them instantly. Third, you've got to focus on repetition. LSAT questions follow predictable patterns, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. So of course, if your LSAT prep materials still include logic games, you're studying for a test that no longer exists, and it's time for you to make a major upgrade. Now, the third big change you've got to be aware of is, of course, that the LSAT is fully online. It's a new format, and that comes with new, unique challenges. Now, the third big change you've got to be aware of is that the LSAT is fully online. And with this new format comes new challenges. Know that you have 2 options. You could take the LSAT at home or in person at a Prometric testing center, and each has its own quirks. At home, you have the comfort of a more familiar environment, but at the same time, you may have to deal with interruptions from a remote proctor halfway around the world. At a testing center, you have a stable setup, but you might face distractions from the other test takers. My advice is to take your practice tests the same way you'll play on test day. Use LSAC's Law Hub platform to simulate the test day experience, and at LSAT Unplugged, we of course make sure our students are ready for both formats so there are no surprises. Now, the fourth big change you've got to be aware of is that retakes are the new norm, and you can use this to your advantage. Law schools only take your highest LSAT score, and the LSAT's gone from being offered 4 times a year to 8 times a year, meaning there are more opportunities than ever to retake it. And retakes are always the smart move if you're strategic about them. But first, when you're retaking, you've got to take the time to slow down and identify your weak spots. Figure out what held you back on your previous attempt. Then drill relentlessly in the specific areas where you're losing points, and of course, build up your endurance, taking full-length timed practice tests. That one is non-negotiable. Now, even a 2-point improvement on your retake can make the difference between getting into your dream school or earning a scholarship that saves you 6 figures in tuition. And if you're planning a retake, we can help you build a personalized study plan. Just click the link below this video to book a call. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, the final big factor you've got to be aware of is that the LSAT is constantly changing. They moved it from in-person to online a couple of years back with the pandemic. They removed logic games last year, and now they're talking about scoring the writing sample sometime in the near future. We don't know when it'll happen. I'll keep you posted, but in the meantime, know that using outdated prep materials is like trying to stream Netflix on dial-up. It's just not going to work. But at LSAT Unplugged, my team and I ensure our students have the latest strategies to stay ahead of every change. And that change creates opportunity. Focus on what you can control, your LSAT score, and use it to stand out in an increasingly competitive applicant pool. Don't waste time on outdated strategies or hacks that just don't work. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start getting real results, check out the links below. We've also created a free, easy LSAT cheat sheet to help you jumpstart your LSAT prep with actionable strategies you can implement immediately. Again, link below, 100% free. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.